We want to welcome you this morning to this meeting of the Drainage District Board of Directors set for today, April 2nd, 2014. The entire court being present, we have a quorum. Is there anything under open forum?
I don't believe anybody signed up, Judge.
On our consent agenda, any concerns?
There are no concerns, Judge.
Everything in order. Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 4.
Item 4 is update on rehabilitation and/or construction of the river levee at the Edinburgh Pump Station, Irrigation District Number 1. We have submitted the documents to Danamom Engineering. They're in the process of putting a scope together and a work authorization to present on the board. Hopefully by next week, they will have those documents to us. Mr. Steve Crane and myself have had a conversation with the IBWC and their legal counsel. They're beginning the draft work on the memorandum of agreement or memorandum of understanding. So that's just an update to the board at this time.
All right, sir.
May I proceed, sir?
Go on to item 5.
Item 5, discussion and action acceptance of memorandum of understanding between Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1 and Delta Irrigation District as it relates to the Lower Rio Grande Valley Regional Water Management Project. As the board is aware and the public's aware, we're moving forward with the Delta Regional Project on the recapture and reuse of water. We've had Delta Irrigation District sign on as a potential partner in the future on any waters that we might capture or reuse, that they would be negotiable to acquiring those waters from us to supplement their usage. So this is just a letter of memorandum of understanding that in the future, if the project does develop the way we look at it, they'll be looking at trying to acquire the waters that we have available for us.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 6, approval in amended and restated interlocal cooperative agreement between County of Hidalgo, Edinburgh Consolidated Independent School District, City of McAllen, and Hidalgo County Drainage Number 1 for road and drainage improvements to irrigation canal crossing mile 17.5 and terminating at Ware Road. This is the project that we've partnered with McAllen School District, in which the drainage district is expanding its west main drain, working with the county and the city and school district on making those adjustments. This reinstates the interlocal agreement, so we have the process in which we can bill our percentage back from the cities.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 7, requesting approval to purchase uniforms through the district membership with National Joint Power Alliance, NJPA contract number 012111-UFC. This is for our uniforms for the drainage district personnel.
Move for approval.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Under 2013 Bond Series, Item B, requesting approval of supplemental agreement number 1 to 2012 Bond Referendum Rural Drainage Development Program Precinct 2, agreement for professional engineering services with Ramiro Gutierrez Corporation as it relates to construction material testing. This is just a work authorization for Robert Kishner to do the material testing on the project.
Need action, right?
Yes, sir.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
C, requesting approval of work authorization number 3 from Ramiro Gutierrez Engineering Corporation, the amount of $11,328.08 as it relates to construction material testing for precinct number 2 rural drainage project.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
We have no other items on the board's agenda at this time, sir.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much, Judge Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
Aquí lo vamos a comenzar.
Yeah.
Nine.
We're going to be convening our regular meeting of the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court for today, April the 2nd, 2014. The entire court being present, we have a quorum. Please join us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Father in heaven, we come to you today
realizing that in times when we're the most troubled, we need to remember to turn to you, for ultimately you're in charge. We ask you to give our commissioners and our judge wisdom, guidance, help all of us work together to make Hidalgo County a better place to live. Bless our families, bless our nation, and bless all the troops who are everywhere all over the world to defend our nation. We ask all these things in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
All right, any concerns with the consent agenda?
Judge, I would like to ask that consent agenda item 10G, as in George, be pulled for discussion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 10G is, what does that involve?
And 10G is a request to remove 19 assets from the inventory listing. The request being made by the District Attorney's Office. And the listing is attached, and it lists printers, lists several things. And one of the things that we asked is, if any of those items were stolen, we would like to have a police report attached. And we didn't see a police report for any one of those items. And I think this is under the purchasing department. I don't know if purchasing has any comments to their effect. But that is, I just wanted to put it for the record that there was not a police report attached to any one of these items.
Marty here somewhere?
I don't see her.
The Marty or someone from the DA's office? Why don't we just take no action on it this time?
Okay. All right.
All right, next item is open forum. We have 5 presenters. First presenter is Virginia Townsend.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
I didn't want this opportunity to pass without me saying that I wanted to thank our Sheriff, Lupe Trevino, for all the things that he's done for older people like me and my husband. I know when he did the Citizens Sheriff Academy, I learned for the first time in my life how the Sheriff's Department works. He assigned all of us to go on a 10-hour drive with the deputies. Now, if you want to find out what deputy sheriffs do, you ride on a 10-hour drive and you're not able to go home. You have to stick with it the whole 10 hours. I learned so much that I did not know before, and it made me appreciate everything better. He also had a program for women to learn how to defend themselves. He also had a program for older people to learn to defend their homes. There were so many things he did for community outreach that I appreciate very much. And I, for one, am sorry he resigned, but that's me. I thought he did a good job in a lot of things that he did, and I do thank him for it. Thank you.
Next presenter is Fern McClarty.
My hands were full of paper, so I wasn't able to clap. Why can't you find an interim sheriff out of the many candidates with years, and I mean years of service in law enforcement? There are several names that have 28 years, 30 years. We have one is the director of Texas Commission on Jail Standards and was also a county sheriff. He now oversees conditions at 245 jails in Texas. Why not hire a person who is willing not to run for the office in November? This is what he has stated. Someone who wants to do a good job for Hidalgo County right now. His name is Adán Muñoz. I hope I pronounced that correctly. You need to be careful who you put in the position because they may have an agenda. Like in 2009, Constable Precinct 4 had just got in office just barely 3 months when he decided to put on the county agenda discussion, consideration, and action on order prohibiting the carrying of concealed handguns in county-owned and/or leased properties/offices. He had an order of Commissioner's Court to be signed by the county judge. If this person would try to override a state law, what will he do if and when he is the sheriff in control of Hidalgo County? We, the people of Hidalgo County, need to know where the person who will be the interim sheriff and maybe the sheriff after November election stand with the people who have a CHL and their right to carry. And I have this in my class each year, each time I have one, and the answer to the question was, it is an exception to the application of this section that the property on which the license holder carries a handgun is owned or leased by a government entity and is not a premise or other place on which the license holder is prohibited from carrying the handgun. So I am asking you to pick someone that is interested in doing what is best for Hidalgo County, not as what best for their career. There are several names missing from the list of names I saw in the newspaper. There is a Bobby Herrera who has 25 years with the federal government. We have Constable Precinct 3, Larry. We have Tony Pena. We have ex-Sheriff Escalon. And I know several of these people, and I believe they could and would do a good job. I would like to also thank Lupe Trevino for the work he has put in Hidalgo County. Some may say he hurt the county. Some may say he didn't do a good job. But we all have been safer under his watch. No, he's not perfect, but who is? In my Bible, in the King James Version, John 8:7, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone. Which one of you wants to pick that stone up and throw it? So, like I say, I looked up the names on your list that was in the paper, and I checked their backgrounds and what they do and what they have done, and I certainly have my choice, so we'll see how you pick. Thank you.
All right, next presenter is Opal Billman.
Good morning. My name is Opal Billman. We have laws in the state of Texas. People who are married accumulate property that are joint assets. When someone wants a divorce, the divorce action is processed through a court, so a fair and just division of the joint assets can be accomplished. It was the judge's only job. Examine the records. Show me a division of community property owned by Joe and me between Joe and me. You can't. It doesn't exist. Our community property has two owners. Joe died, and I have been held in 17 years in false imprisonment on land that I own, which has nothing to do with law or justice or a fair divorce settlement. Each week I have a purpose for being at these meetings. When Joe died, the law is the case must be dismissed. The law prohibits what is now taking place. Compliance to the law returns our community property to us. Land bought and paid for by Joe Billman and me is still owned in valid deeds by Joe and me, and it is private property. The court must return our community property to us. The court cannot keep or abandon our community property. Under law, the community property is returned intact to Joe and me because we own it. Compliance with the law by the court returns our community property, frees me, and was supposed to have been done 11 years ago. The slow rolling involved is being used to force me to abandon my property to the state. The message to me is just walk away with nothing. Not in America. That is not the law in this country. Joe and I dredged a lake. I've never met anyone else who did. Joe and I also developed an RV park. This case is all about our real estate. Deliberate force to persuade me to walk away with nothing includes the complete destruction of my house, if that's what it takes. These criminal actions are not to be justified with excuses of lack of maintenance by me. I am not dumb. I know the difference between maintenance and some people functioning in gang-like behavior to force me off property that I own for their finder's fee. Thank you very much.
The next presenter is Ramiro Trevino.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners, Senior Administration, ladies and gentlemen. Every task that you all have to carry out is important for the Hidalgo County taxpayers. You have on the agenda this morning the item of the interim sheriff position. I hope and pray, and I have been for the past few days, that in carrying out this task, which is important, you all have soul searched and done your research. I hope and pray that the old political faction mentality of the good old boy system, that cancer manifested of dirty politics and the way of doing things that has always given Hidalgo County a black eye, is not present today. Gentlemen, you have before you that task of carrying out this important decision this morning. Let's do the right thing for Hidalgo County for the first time in a long time. Thank you.
Next presenter is Luis Peña.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I'm here on the issue of the interim sheriff position. I'm sure you've seen some names on there. There's some names with experience. There's also some names with no law enforcement experience, just reserve experience. You need to make the right choice in selecting a person who's going to take over this office. In saying this, I say a person who will not think the sheriff's office belongs to him like our previous sheriff. This belongs to the public. The sheriff's office belongs to the public and the taxpayers of Hidalgo County, not to one person or his chief of staff. I'm going to close this with saying that we just hope the next sheriff is not a dictator, a narcissist, and a person full of himself. Thank you very much.
The next presenter is Johnny Partain.
Good morning, Your Honors. I'm here to talk about Agenda 6B. I understand that you have a list of 12 candidates that you're going to be vetting pretty soon. And I do have a problem with one of the candidates. This candidate I sued under District Court Case 0929-12-F after he assaulted my campaign headquarters back in 2012 with the SWAT team. He was warned that these acts were illegal, but he didn't care because he professed that he had ignorance of the law. This candidate would be Eddie Guerra. That would be the first point I'd like to make. The second point I'd like to make is that you do have a list of candidates that you are looking at. I understand that the sheriff retired or gave up his position on Friday. Since that time, I've seen plenty of news stories that have alluded that you're going to have this appointment today. And I'm not really sure, I'm a little confused here how you put a list together, because I don't recall ever seeing an open meeting announcement asking for appointments to this position. So I think you may be in violation of the Open Meetings Act, and I'd just like to bring that to your attention, because if you do pick a candidate today, it probably would end up being voided. That's all I need to say. Thank you, sirs.
All right, next item is item number 6A. We have had a letter of resignation submitted to us by Ms. Guadalupe Trevino, County Sheriff of Hidalgo County. I need a motion to accept this letter of resignation.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now we come to the issue of appointment of our interim county sheriff. We have 12 individuals that have applied, asking that they be selected or appointed to be.
Judge, just to clarify for the record, there was no application process.
No, there was no application process, but they, I assume were interested enough that they did submit an application. We did let the public know through the media that we were going to be appointing someone today, and these are the individuals that submitted an intent to be considered or an application or whatever we may want to call it. They're interested. And let me just name these individuals. Mr. Francisco Gallegos. He's a former police officer in Elsa, Mercedes, and McAllen. Mr. Daniel Garcia, who is presently a sheriff's deputy, commander of our jail system. He has 25 years in law enforcement. Mr. Fred Ball is a special agent in charge of DEA during his law enforcement career. He's been in law enforcement over 30 years, in charge of DEA in McAllen, Brownsville, and Houston. Mr. Giovanni Hernandez, he's a police chief in La Jolla. He has, I don't have the number of years of law enforcement involvement, but it's most of his professional life. Mr. Tom Whidden, presently a commander at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. He's a former Harlingen police chief. Mr. Ricardo Herrera, he's a police chief and former police chief in Fremont, criminal investigator for Cameron County Sheriff, Cameron County Constable, and Chief Rancho Viejo Police Department. We have Mr. Adan Munoz, former sheriff of Clayburgh County, and he's the Texas Director of Criminal Justice presently. We have Mr. Esteban Soto, 30 years in law enforcement, U.S. Marshal in Puerto Rico, and extensive experience in the U.S. Marshal's office. We have Mr. J.E. Eddie Guerra, a former Deputy Constable, presently Constable, and has been for the last 6 years here in Hidalgo County. We have Mr. Juan Gonzalez, presently Police Chief in the city of San Juan. We have Mr. Al Perez, who has law enforcement background here in our county, and Mr. Alejandro Morales. And he's currently employed as a general manager of a business here in Hidalgo County. He has worked for Hidalgo County for 13 years as a detention officer, probation officer, and as an inmate intervention specialist. Mr. Perez's background is Elsa Police Department Lieutenant, Ed Couch Police Department Assistant Chief, Hidalgo County Constable's Department Captain, and policeman with the Mission Police Department. All that experience is in Hidalgo County. So we have 12 individuals who are requesting that we consider their applications. Does the court have any other individuals interested, or any other people that may have called that wanting to be considered, that we're not calling the county judge's office, that may have called any of your officers?
For the record, if you can just explain that there was no application process, these were just voluntarily submitted by various individuals, and that this list is not an exclusive list. Anybody could be appointed by this court in addition to those people.
Right, and that was a good way of explaining it, Chris, by the way. Yes, anybody that the Commissioner's Court, the majority would like to appoint, can be appointed. There has been no application process. If anyone here is interested, I would, maybe you can raise your hand. Jacob? All right. Okay, not having heard from anyone, has any commissioner heard from anyone that is also interested whose name I did not call? If not, then we're going to limit our discussion to these 12 individuals that cared enough, and we certainly appreciate their concern and desire to get involved and help us here in our county during this situation. Now, there is no procedure in place. We can either, do it. We're not going to go into executive session. We're going to have a public discussion. I think that's important because, we are needing the community involvement. The community needs to be aware as to what went on, what was the process in the selection of this interim sheriff. We need to restore this trust and confidence that, at least perceptively, has indicated that it may not be there, but we want to make sure that everything that we do is out in the open. Now, I was going to be proposing, and subject to any other recommendation by any member of the court that we can talk about, but I was thinking we have had these 12 names. We've had the packet since yesterday afternoon, and we looked, I'm sure, at the resumes and the applications and the letters, and we have an idea who we think is best qualified. If each of us could name 3 individuals, and then out of those 15 names that come up, the one who gets the most votes, we will then be narrowing it down to the top 3, and then we could involve ourselves in interviewing these top 3 if they're present, or talk about them if they're not, and then we can then proceed to vote on one of those 3. That's one procedure that I think makes sense, and that way that'll cut the interview process substantially. But I'm open to any other suggestions that any of you may have.
Judge,
Yes.
I have a question for Steve. Legally, when do we need to make a decision? Is today?
Commissioner, under the election code, a vacancy occurs and can be filled on the earlier of the date that this body accepts the resignation or the 8th day after the resignation was submitted. So it would be appropriate at this time for you to make your decision today.
Well, what if we follow
Before you do that, Commissioner, we need to establish that date. Rick, do you have a date of that letter of resignation? Because that's going to be important. He'll get that letter in the meantime, the date. Just tell me, Jaime. Well, go ahead, Commissioner. We'll come back to it.
Well, I agree with your recommendation, but the process, I feel that we need to, unless we're obligated to take action today, why don't we select those 3 applicants and call them in for interviews or additional information, whatever. I spent, and I appreciate everybody that expressed an interest in applying or submitting a request to be considered. I spent a lot of time looking at the information that was provided, and I'm impressed with the quality of people that have expressed an interest. But simply to look at a couple of pages of background, I think we need to spend a little more time in trying to come up with the best decision on this. And
Judge, if I may, I understand Commissioner Palacios's concern. Since last week, we've been inundated with phone calls. We have obviously various opinions out there, and there's been an overwhelming thought that has been put to this process here. We understand that at the end of the day, that what we decide here today will merely just be for a small time by November. This will obviously, during the process of these next few months, the precinct chairs, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party will be in the process of going through their selection process. I too feel like Commissioner Palacios, I looked at all the applicants. There's a lot of experience out there. I have not given the opportunity to sit with all individuals. I've sat with a couple, I've talked to a few. I feel that from a standpoint of getting to know all applicants, and it's going to be it's a daunting task for this court, this board, to select an individual that's obviously going to assume responsibility. It's going to be a big burden, and I want to make sure that there's a good consensus from the board that the decision we make today is for the betterment of the county. I don't know if the process that we have before us is the appropriate process, and if it is, great. If it's an issue with timing and the urgency, then I understand that. I'm prepared to make a suggestion, but I feel that I have not given the respect to all applicants at this point in time to sit with each individual and understand what they could offer. But I'll respect the urgency of time and the will of the court. So whatever you all decide.
What are you stating, that we can do it now, or you want us to
Well,
wait?
if we're under a time constraint and we have to act now, I'm prepared to act now.
Well, the time constraint, according to Steve, was what, the 8th day?
The earlier of the date you accept the resignation, or the 8th day after the resignation is submitted.
All right.
Then you would have a vacancy at that time.
March 28th is the date of the letter. That was 6 days ago. Steve, can we do it? Well, I know we can do it now, but how much more time would we have if we decided to wait?
Well, theoretically, you've accepted his resignation on item 6A. So now there is a vacancy under the election code. And because there is a vacancy, now is appropriate to go ahead and fill that vacancy if you so desire.
Okay, well, I wouldn't.
What do you want to do, narrow it down to three candidates?
Narrow it down to 3, and then we can interview the 3 here in front of the public. And
Okay, this is my motion. Constable Guerra, Daniel Garcia, and Fred Ball.
I'll second that motion.
those are the 3 that you would pick also?
Yeah.
Yes,
Commissioner?
yes, Judge.
Judge, I believe we have a motion on the floor. In a second.
Well, all right, we have now we're in discussion, but I'm trying to hear from all the commissioners. Are there any others besides those 3?
I'm fine with that.
I don't have a particular problem.
Well, mine were Fred Ball, Eddie Guerra, and Juan Gonzalez, and Daniel got us. All right. We have a motion and a second. Let me make sure we get this down. A motion and a second. That'll be Fred Ball,
Daniel Garcia, and Constable Guerra.
those in favor of those 3 individuals being the narrowing down to the top 3, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
We request a hand vote.
It's a unanimous vote.
It's everybody.
Hand vote on who voted for it.
Well, it's hard. If it's unanimous, you're not going to miss anyone, but. All right. Well, the motion carries. Now, why don't we begin the process? The first individual that we need to consider then would be Mr. Fred Ball. I don't know if Mr. Ball is in the audience. Is Mr. Ball here? Or anyone representing him? Well, let's talk a little bit about him. Okay, why don't we begin with Commissioner, we can take it in numerical sequence. Commissioner Cuellar, anything that you'd like to say in behalf of Mr. Ball?
No, I mean, he's a good applicant. I really appreciate, him applying, and like all the rest of them, I'm just glad for that, and I wish he was here so he could express himself, so.
Commissioner Palacios?
Likewise, I think on paper, he stands out, but I would like to hear him before the court and tell us a little bit about his background in terms of law enforcement. I know on paper it's spelled out, but to actually hear the individual and meet the, I don't know the gentleman.
All right, sir. Commissioner Flores?
Don't personally know the man, but by looking at his resume, 28 years in government services, DEA stuff, so makes it very interested to talk to him and interview him, so that's why I picked his name.
Yeah. Commissioner?
I offer the same sentiments. Mr. Ball obviously has extensive experience. I know the family personally. I did receive an email from him days ago. I think he's one of, well, actually all of them could fit the role, but I could understand why he was selected as one of the three, but I was looking forward to hearing from him. But yeah, I've given its due attention to his resume.
Well, I do know Mr. Ball in a professional manner, doing criminal defense work back in the 70s and the 80s. He was a special agent in charge of many cases, did excellent work, had an excellent reputation. He's got 39 years of experience in law enforcement, and that would obviously allow our county force to have a very good relationship with the federal agencies, and those are the reasons that he's one of my top three. All right, the next individual is Mr. Daniel Garcia. Mr. Garcia, excuse me, is Mr. Garcia here? Deputy, step forward, please, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is there anything that you would like to tell us before we vote on this issue as to why we ought to be voting for you to be our interim county sheriff?
Judge, commissioners, and citizens of Hidalgo County. Very briefly, I'm married, have two children. My son is currently attending Pan American University. My daughter is a junior at Mac High. I started my law enforcement career here at the Sheriff's Office in 1987. I've worked for the past 3 sheriffs. I've worked in every aspect that the Sheriff's Office consists of. Anything from property against crimes, against persons, homicide. I was assigned to the Auto Theft Task Force. I was assigned to the HIDTA, Narcotic Task Force. And I became a commander in 2005. And I've been the commander there for the past 9 years. I currently am the commander of the Adult Detention Bureau. I've been the commander of the Law Enforcement Bureau and of the Special Crimes Bureau. So with all that, I appreciate your vote, and thank you very much.
Excuse me, Commander, just a minute. Does any member of the court have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioner.
And the third person is our constable, Mr. Guerra, Eddie Guerra. Mr. Guerra, would you please step forward?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. We want to give you this opportunity to tell us before we vote as to why we should vote for you to be our interim Hidalgo County Sheriff.
If you let me read, I got a prepared statement, and after I give this statement, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Is that okay, Judge?
That'll be fine, sir. Any way you'd like to proceed.
Honorable Judge, honorable Commissioners, let me begin by thanking you for your consideration. As you're aware, I'm currently serving as constable for Precinct 4, having been recently reelected by the citizens of my precinct. My purpose for being here today is the same reason that this honorable court is: to give the people of Hidalgo County law enforcement that they can trust, support, and depend upon in their hour of need. I have the qualifications, and I humbly request you appoint me the next sheriff of Hidalgo County. I began my law enforcement career nearly 20 years ago when I joined the Precinct 4 Constable's Office, culminating in my election as Constable for Precinct 4. I have extensive business experience in the private sector and managing my family's ranch and cattle operations. I know the importance of sound budget management and fiscal accountability. My career and life's experience have led me here today in preparation for this occasion. When I took command of the Constable's Office in Precinct 4, the department was in need of improvement and sound leadership. Together with my staff, we work hard every day to provide the level of service that our citizens deserve while strengthening the professionalism and the effectiveness of the office. As Constable, I have developed a close working relationship with our law enforcement partners, local, state, and federal. And the simple reason for this is trust. I have a working knowledge of the policies and the procedures of this county, and I have developed a strong relationships with the various elected officials, their offices, and departments that comprise Hidalgo County government. I know I can restore the public's confidence in the Sheriff's Office and its employees. My sincere belief and hard work, common sense approach will set the standard of honesty, integrity, and trust. The Guerra family has a deep-rooted 150-year history in Hidalgo County. In keeping with the Guerra family tradition of public service, if appointed, I will work hard as your sheriff, and together we will forge history. In closing, let me share you this thought. When Paul Harvey, a well-known radio personality, told one of his stories, he would begin by elaborating on difficult times and circumstances. After a short break, he would return and say, "And now it's time for the rest of the story." Paul Harvey would then share a story of overcoming adversity and how an unbreakable resolve turned around even the most difficult of circumstances. Judge, Commissioners, I ask you for your vote of confidence by appointing me the next sheriff, and I submit to you it's time for the rest of the story. Thank you.
Are there any questions from any member of the court? Eddie, your relationship with the federal agencies, can you elaborate a little bit on that? I know that as a constable, rarely does one have an opportunity to be involved and associated with them, but you seem to have developed a unique relationship.
Judge, I started my law enforcement career as a reserve deputy, serving the northern part of Hidalgo County. When I did go on patrol, I would work drug interdiction on northern Hidalgo County, and I was very successful at it, and that caught the attention of the Hidalgo County Sheriff, and he recruited me to work for him to do exactly that same thing. And because of my success, I was assigned to the U.S. Customs Task Force, and I became the liaison officer. and I was given top security clearance, and I coordinated efforts between U.S. Customs and the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Office. And I did that until I left the Sheriff's Office and went to Precinct 1 Constable's Office. I still have that relationship today with the same, now it's called Homeland Security Investigations. And they use my office quite frequently in their investigations. My office is one of the only county law enforcement, because of the dark cloud that surrounds the other county office. They use my office, and they trust my office.
All right, sir. There's no other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we've heard from the three top candidates from the field of 12. Does anyone have a motion, and I need to hear a motion in a second as to any of these three individuals?
Judge, I'd like to make a motion that we select Eddie Guerra, Constable Precinct 4, as our new interim county sheriff. The reason for my support for Eddie Guerra comes from overwhelming support from various business individuals, elected officials, and so many people that have called and have endorsed Mr. Guerra to take such a responsibility. I believe the moral fiber, the understanding of county government, the understanding of the duties of the office, I believe that he will represent us well. I think it's important, although all may be qualified, the reason why I support Mr. Eddie Guerra, he's been elected by the people within the precinct he represents, and he has working relationship with all agencies, and the understanding. Those are the reasons for my support of Mr. Guerra.
Mr. Commissioner Palacios, does your motion also include, if it passes, that Mr. Guerra would have to get a bond in the same amount as the former sheriff had?
That would be part of my motion.
Do I hear a second? Is there a second to the motion to appoint Mr. Guerra?
I'll second that with a comment. I don't know, Steve, it's appropriate, but again, I would like to say that all the applicants were qualified. It's not an easy decision, but in being part of this court and part of my responsibility is to ensure that we appoint somebody that's going to take care of business and do the best job possible for the citizens of Hidalgo County. And for that, I'll take the motion.
Another thing that I want to add to it, Judge, is that just because we're selecting the sheriff today, doesn't mean that in late August, the precinct chairs are going to select that person. It might be somebody else, right?
That is correct. I'm about to get into that. I asked Kelly, and she's here to talk about that. But I do also want to state that, Mr. Guerra, that you do realize that once we take the vote, and if you are appointed, you'll have to resign your position as constable. And of course, that will then require us to go through the same process to fill your vacancy. But in any event, you're then going to be dependent on whatever the county chairs do as far as the nomination process. If you're nominated, you'll be on the ballot in November. If you're not nominated, the individual who is on the ballot in November that is elected by the county voters will then preside from the date of the canvassing of the election in November until the balance of the 2-year term in 2 months.
Yes, Judge, I'm aware of the consequences of accepting the appointment. I realize that I have to vacate this office that I work hard for. But I want to show the citizens of Hidalgo County how dedicated I am to restoring the trust back to the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Department.
All right, sir. Then.
What would be the timetable for this to happen?
Well, he would be resigning effective, I would imagine, today. We don't have it on the agenda, but we're going to have to accept it. Is it automatic if he's sworn in tomorrow?
It's automatic, and he would be resigning the constable's office tomorrow when he takes his oath of office and presents his bond.
That is correct.
All right. Tomorrow, what the process involves now is for you to even be sworn in, you have to post a bond that we have to that we have to set. And that's what the purpose of that addition to the motion was by Mr. Crane. It's a $30,000 bond, but it's required by statute, and then you can be sworn in, and then we'll be swearing in, or you'll be swearing in all of those 750 or 800 deputies. And that'll happen, I believe tomorrow. Is that, Balde? Tomorrow, what time?
It's my understanding it's tomorrow at 4:30, 5 o'clock?
No, his oath would be two.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, the oath, we have a court session tomorrow at 2:30.
All right.
2:30 would be
All right, then
the bond.
at this time, I'll call for a vote on the motion and the
Judge,
second.
also, could be a vacancy in precinct 4 constable.
I know, I talked about that.
But the deputies at that office will not have any one to draw authority from.
Well, we're going to work on hurrying up the process and appointing somebody else.
Yeah, all right.
All right, at this time, all those in favor of appointing Mr. Eddie Guerra, is it Jose Eduardo? All right, Jose Eduardo Eddie Guerra as the interim sheriff for Hidalgo County to serve in that capacity, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Eddie, get up. Hit it, okay. We need to keep on going with our meeting. At this time, I think it's important that we hear from our county chairs. Can I have your attention, please? At this time, I would like to call on the county chairs of the Democratic Party in our county and the Republican Party, if they're present. I know Kelly's here. I don't know if Javier is also here. I would think it's important that they explain to the public the process that they're going to follow in selecting the nominee that will be on the ballot in November. Kelly, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners, for the invitation to be here to explain to both the court and the general public about what process will be followed for the nomination of sheriff for the November ballot. The Texas Election Code authorizes the County Executive Committee, which is comprised of all precinct chairs, to appoint an individual to be placed on the November ballot. This individual, if elected, will serve the remainder of the current term. The Texas Election Code also authorizes this process to occur any time between June 16th and August 21st. This means that the determination will not occur during my current term as county chair. My current term expires on June 15th, and so does the term of all the current county executive committee. The determination will be made in the new term. And that's the reason why I have invited along with me today the two candidates for county chair that will be on the primary runoff ballot, and they're present. It's Juan Maldonado and Rick Godinez.
Gentlemen, welcome. I guess you're now involved in the most hotly contested runoff in Hidalgo County history for county chair.
Well, Judge, we've been in constant communication because it is our goal for the Democratic Party for this next phase of the selection of sheriff to be transparent, open, and obvious, and visible to the public. And we've gotten together and have come up with a procedure that we will be recommending to our County Executive Committee for approval in our next steps forward. What we have agreed upon as our recommendation is there shall be no new appointments for the position of precinct chair until after the certification of the candidate elected by our Hidalgo County Democratic Executive Committee for a place on the general ballot.
That's very good. That does provide the transparency that's needed. No stacking of any, in behalf of anybody.
Absolutely, Judge. The persons eligible to vote for this selection will be the county executive members who filed for precinct chairs and were elected during the Democratic Party primary and runoffs of 2014 and who assume office on June 16th, 2014. Any person seeking the appointment for place on the general election ballot for position of sheriff from our county executive committee must apply for nomination by completing and filing an application for place on the ballot. And what we've recommended and what we'll be recommending to our county executive committee is that those applications be filled out and turned in to the party anytime between May 9th and June 9th to our party headquarters, and I can be reached very easily via my phone and my email. And during the week of June 16th, the County Executive Committee will convene to appoint a person for place on the general election ballot for the position of sheriff. Prior to the appointment, all candidates who timely filed their application will be invited to a forum to be open to questions by the County Executive Committee, and the public will be also invited to this process. Following the forum, the County Executive Committee will take a vote. For the purpose of filling a vacancy per the election code, a majority of the County Executive Committee membership constitutes a quorum. To be nominated, a person must receive a favorable vote from the majority of the members present. And that's kind of the procedure that we will be recommending to the County Executive Committee for approval. And we look forward to this process. We look forward to sharing it with the public and to being a part of this historic event for the county.
And this process and procedures that you're going to follow, they're going to be based on the rules of the Democratic Party that are imposed to all of them statewide.
Yes, Judge. They will be in compliance with both the Texas Election Code and the Texas Democratic Party rules as well.
Judge, if it pleases the court, in light of also the resignation effective tomorrow from the constable of Precinct 4, would that follow the same format that we're following the sheriff's? Obviously, just limited to Precinct 4.
Exact same procedure. So you're going to be appointing a nominee for both the sheriff and the constable.
It'll be a busy time for us, Judge, but we're looking forward to it. Thank
That's the
you.
exciting time for county chairs
Absolutely. It's always
Great.
exciting, Judge.
and precinct chairs.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Mr. Villalobos here? All right. Next item is item 7A.
Morning, Judge Commissioners. Michael Leo for County Judge's Office. 7A, presentation by Andrew Cannon on their 4th annual Walk and Roll-Up scheduled for Saturday, April 12th, 2014. With the court's permission, we'd like to turn it over to Mr. Andrew Cannon, who's here.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. I'd like to introduce Deborah Franco, who's here with me this morning. She's Director of South Texas Juvenile Diabetes Association. I'm happy to announce, I think most of you already know, that we have our 4th annual Walk and Roll coming up on April 12th in partnership, with UTPA over at the Wellness Center. Walk and Rolla sponsors the South Texas Juvenile Diabetes Association, and 100% of the proceeds that we raise goes over to South Texas Juvenile Diabetes Association. So we want to ask everybody in the community to come on out. We're hosting a 5K, a 10-mile, and a 20-mile and a 40-mile bike ride. And we're always seeking additional dollars from individuals who may want to give to a good cause here. I'll let Deborah talk more about that, but we're excited to be hosting this event, have this here in conjunction with UTPA. They'll be hosting the 5K for us. So we want to invite everybody to come out and be a part of that. As a side personal note, I do want to say, I think Commissioner Flores has already heard this a couple of times. My staff is extremely motivated to raise. Our goal is over $15,000 to South Texas Juvenile Diabetes Association this year. If we exceed that, I get to end up bald after one of our meetings. So that was sort of a motivation in the office that we had with staff to do this. My hair will grow back. These kids have a situation that they have to deal with for the rest of their life. So if it's a small token of something I can do to motivate my staff, and maybe people out there just want to see me a little humiliated, and I can live with that. But if you don't mind, I'm going to turn it over to Deborah and let her tell you about South Texas Juvenile Diabetes.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
This organization was started 3 years ago by families of children with diabetes, and we serve the entire Rio Grande Valley. To date, we have over 150 families registered with STJDA, and that's not nearly the amount of children that are touched by the services that we provide. We've been working with all of the local hospitals to make sure that all of these kids get a kit upon initial diagnosis that will help them maintain and learn how to manage their diabetes, which we understand is probably the most difficult aspect of the disease. And we just want to thank Hidalgo County and the staff at the HCMPO for coming together and trying to help us with the goal of touching all of these children and helping them live a better life so that we as a community can change what it is that people say about the Rio Grande Valley, which is that we are very obese and unhealthy, and that's one of the things we want to change as an association, to let people know that there are options out there and there are associations like ours that are here to help and to change the lives of these children. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Judge, if I can, I'd like to say that Julian Alvarez and the Rio Grande Valley Partnership hosted a fundraiser event a couple of weeks ago out at Payne Auto Group, which me, Deborah, her staff, and several other volunteers helped them orchestrate. And the deal with that was to split the proceeds out of that fundraiser. And I'm very happy to be able to announce this morning that Julian's notified us that there's $11,000 that they'll be giving over to South Texas Juvenile Diabetes Association out of that. So we're very excited, and we just want to encourage the community to come out and support them and participate in our 5K and our health fair that we'll have out on April 12th. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you bald.
Thank you, Commissioner. I saw, you know, you were the first guy I figured that would hit on that, so I appreciate it. Thank you. It's because of the beard, isn't it? If we do $30,000, I've agreed to cut everything off. So if you wish to contribute, it's
All right, well, thank you. Next item is item 7B, 782.
Yes, good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Hilda Salinas. Approval of proclamation designating April 12th, 2014 as Texas Juvenile Diabetes Awareness Day. May I read the resolution?
Yes, please.
Proclamation declaring April 12, 2014 as South Texas Juvenile Diabetes Association Day. Whereas diabetic children are a special group of individuals who face unique challenges every single day of their lives, such as monitoring blood glucose levels by prickling their fingers, administering insulin by injections or an insulin pump, calculating the carbohydrate levels in every bite of blood they eat, and a food they eat, and recognizing and treating a low blood sugar attack, all in an effort to prevent the debilitating complications associated with uncontrolled diabetes. And whereas trend data shows that 1 of every 2 Hispanic babies born today will likely face a lifetime with diabetes. And whereas the South Texas Juvenile Diabetes Association was founded by parents of local diabetic children on October 25, 2011, to offer support and advocacy for diabetic children and their families in the Rio Grande Valley, the first local organization of its kind. Whereas during its first year of service, our community, STJDA, has initiated family-oriented support groups, organized family field trips, and spearheaded a community school education program that has taught local school nurses and non-medical school personnel how to supervise and empower a diabetic child to self-manage their diabetes while they are at school. And whereas the South Texas Juvenile Diabetes Association has demonstrated its strong commitment to improving the quality of life for the residents of Hidalgo County by providing our community with educational forums and the tools needed to increase awareness of diabetes. Now therefore be it resolved, the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court does hereby proclaim April 12th as South Texas Juvenile Diabetes Association Day in Hidalgo County, and encourages all county residents to support every effort of parents, healthcare providers, educators, and community members to empower children with diabetes to successfully manage daily life with this chronic disease. Dated the 2nd day of April, 2014.
Move for approval.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Why don't you- Oh, picture, yes.
Can't take a picture for
Next item, 7B.
Good morning again. The next item is 7B, proclamation declaring April 2014 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. Today, we're presenting a proclamation declaring April 2014 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. Joining us today, we have representatives of CASA, Diana Almaguer, and Denise Quintanilla. May I read the resolution?
Yes, please.
Whereas in 2013, 66,938 of child abuse and neglected cases were confirmed in Texas. And whereas in 2013, Hidalgo County Child Abuse Protective Services had 7,541 child abuse and neglect investigations. Whereas of those cases investigated, a total of 3,098 children were confirmed as victims of child abuse and neglect. The result includes 2 child fatalities. And whereas child abuse prevention is a community responsibility and finding solutions depends on involvement among all people. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs that benefit children and their families. Whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships among agencies, schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, and business community. And whereas everyone in the community should become more aware of child abuse prevention, to consider helping parents raise their children. Now therefore be it resolved, the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court hereby declares April 2014 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month in Hidalgo County and urge all citizens to work together to help reduce child abuse and neglect significantly in years to come. Dated the second day of April 2014.
Approval.
Second.
Thank you.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Good morning, Judge Amon and Commissioners.
morning.
The cameras are gone, so we're going to be on camera this morning. But thank you so much for having us this morning. You know, we want to thank you on behalf of myself, CASA, our board. I know Dr. Mona Paras is in the staff out there, our staff, our advocates, Child Protective Services, everybody who works with these children who have been abused and neglected. We thank you for your continued support as you have continued supporting our program, and we're able to reach out to our kids and ensure again that they are placed in a safe and permanent home. April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and tonight we are holding our candlelight vigil. It'll be the 17th annual already. We've been in existence for 20 years this month, CASA has, and tonight is our 17th annual candlelight vigil in front of the courthouse. So we invite you to come out and join us. We've worked along Child Protective Services, like I said, and other community agencies, and it is a very important to us that we have the community support and bring awareness to the community about the concern. Hidalgo County is one of the top 10 counties with children who have been victims of abuse and neglect, and it's not good to be recognized in Hidalgo County for that. So we think the more we educate the community, the more awareness we bring to the subject, and the more we can reach out to our children and ensure that they are placed in a safe, permanent home. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here this morning.
Thank you, ladies, for what you do.
May we take a picture? Go ahead.
Resolution in support of the inclusion of a high school level course in the study of Mexican American history and culture. And we have with us our State Board of Education representative, Mr. Ruben Cortez. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to be heard this morning. I've got an item that will be voted on a week from today in Austin, creating a new course in Texas. That would be a Mexican American Studies course. It would be an optional course to any high school, any school district that chose to offer it. If approved, we'd be the only state in the nation that offers a Mexican American Studies course. With 51% of the student population in Texas public schools already Hispanic, it seems not only like a logical course to already exist, but it seems that a course like this should have been existed some time ago. I want to read just a prepared statement that I had put out there, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. I would like to take a moment to tell you a story. As a young girl, my mother grew up picking crops in the fields as a migrant worker alongside her family. She remembers this man named Cesar Chavez that people would talk about with excitement, cheering when newspaper accounts were read aloud, and heads nodding in agreement as the story unfolded. She knew his name, but didn't understand the excitement. As my mother became older, she learned that Señor Chavez endured the wrath of an unjust system and stood for the rights of the people that didn't know they had rights. And against all odds, he made a difference. To my mother, Cesar Chavez was and remains a true American hero. And today, as a justice of the peace in Cameron County, her hero still lives on in her heart. But there's more work to be done. As children and young adults, we embrace role models. They are our heroes and become part of the DNA of our character. Many heroes and historical figures that advance a cause or foster a belief that defines society. There is a vital piece in the development of a character that is noticeably missing in young Mexican American, and that is the positive influences historical figures of the same culture bring to bear on the Mexican American youth of our society. Mexican American children make up the single largest cultural majority in the Texas school system, and those numbers are only increasing. Let us not forget that Mexican Americans are Americans with a Mexican heritage rather than that of a European heritage. As an American, a Mexican American, and a Texan, it is with honor that I propose to the Texas State Board of Education the creation of a Mexican American history course to be made available for students at the high school level. Our ability as a society to adapt defines the essence of the American spirit. We must acknowledge the historical significance of contributions of Mexican Americans and record them so all generations may come to know that cultural diversity is what continues to make America the greatest nation in the world. I humbly ask for your support on this initiative and ask that you stand with all Mexican Americans and declare to the Texas State Board of Education the judiciousness of creating curriculum that is inclusive of historical influences of Mexican Americans. Our culture defines us, and our heritage is our legacy. We are Mexican Americans. Now, I face what I believe is an uphill battle next week in Austin. The makeup of our board consists of 5 Democrats and 10 Republicans. We've already got the support of several major state groups, several LULAC organizations, the Texas State Teachers Association, the American Federation of Teachers, MALDEF, MALC, Mexican American Legal Defense Fund, the Texas Freedom Network. Many Valley school districts have already approved this same resolution that sits before this court today. And so my request of this body and of you, Judge, would be that if this resolution is approved, that you take it one step further and send a letter to all mayors urging them to pass this. And send it to all your colleagues, other county judges across the state, and urging them to approve it. We've got the largest school system in Texas that will be voting on this same resolution tomorrow, which is the Houston School District. We've worked with school districts from El Paso to the Panhandle to Central Texas to West Texas, and they're all approving this version or a similar version in an effort to convince some of the membership as we vote next week on this very important course that could be made available as soon as a year from the day that it's voted on. And so, again, I'm here to ask for your support on this effort and this initiative. I think that it's time that as Mexican Americans, and given what happened here recently with the Medal of Honor recipient here from South Texas, when you have those sorts of things happening, when you have school districts north of Houston and Hempstead that are, their principal is going on the microphone and saying, if you speak Spanish, you will be suspended from school. And you have a school board taking action and then firing that principal for taking those kinds of actions. When things like that are still occurring in the state, it makes me realize how much of an uphill climb we have in me convincing 10 members of the State Board of Education. Fortunately, I don't need to convince 10. I only need to convince 3. I only need a simple majority. I don't need a supermajority. And so I'm hopeful that with the help and support of all of these organizations and these education groups and with some of these school boards and hopefully today I can add my first county government organization that supports us, then hopefully we can get this message across to some of our members that might be on the fence or might thinking this isn't an important enough course. So thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Judge, I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye. Does that include sending letters to the mayors?
If you would see fit, Judge.
All right. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Cruz, hope you succeed. It's hard to believe that they're not wanting to include Mexican-American history as part of the core studies, and we've been here since the 16th century.
Oh, Texas used to be Mexico at some point, so.
Yeah. I don't know. At this time, we're going to be excusing Commissioner Tito Palacios, who has a meeting outside of town. We want to thank him for making time to be here and making the selection of the sheriff a unanimous issue. Item 8. Mr. Guerra.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. There's no action under item 8A1 and 2 unless there's action to be taken further down the agenda. There's no action on item 8B. This week, we'll have a full presentation next week. Item 8C, there's a request by CASA of Hidalgo County to use the open forum area at the courthouse for a candlelight vigil to be held on April 2nd, 24 of this year from 6:30 to 8 p.m. There was a concern issued by the auditors. I have talked to the representative of CASA, and they are providing me with an updated insurance.
So
Everything will be in order, yes.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 9, our constable, precinct 3. Morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Larry Gallardo, the Constable Precinct 3. This is 9A, approval to renew our interlocal agreements between the Hidalgo County and the following school districts for the Stop Truancy Program for the 2014-15 school year. A, La Joya ISD, Mission CISD, and Sharyland ISD. This is our yearly renewal on the contracts we have with them, which is a 50-50 catch match, where we provide truancy officers that help them target juvenile truancy and delinquency.
The funding is in place, Mr. Wedo?
I believe the catch match is, they just need to put it in the right account.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
And
motion
just for the
carries.
auditor's sake, and we'll bring back certification of revenues and appropriation of the salaries and budget and all that stuff. Once the school boards have signed off. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Constable, precinct 4.
Not yet. Not yet. It's not vacant.
Morning,
Morning.
Judge, Commissioners. The approval of certification of revenues as certified by the county auditor for the 2014 Leo's Peace Officers Allocation Funds awarded to receive from the Texas Comptroller's Public Accounts Office.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
2, the approval of 2014 appropriation of funds for Constable Precinct 4, Leo's 1220, in the amount of $1,615.28.
Move for approval. Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Human Resources.
Good morning, Judge. We do have someone from Human Resources. Just wanted to give you a quick recap of why those claims are on the agenda. The Xerox Corporation, that was a termination or expiration of a lease, but in the time they took to pick it up, we were charged the February and March payments. On the AIM Media, that is the monitor, The ad ran on the 4th of January, but the requisition unfortunately was entered after the fact. And on iDocket, that was an agreement that we were trying to get passed through court because it needed review by legal, and in back and forth, iDocket were claims until that agreement was placed on the agenda for approval. So those are all in line with what happened, and I do recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Judge Nereida with the Human Resources Department. Approval for the following personnel action. To create slot 6, court clerk at $26,000.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
currently, there's no funding in place for this position.
This wasn't budgeted. This was because the judge requested additional help because of all these lawsuits being filed on
Yes.
the Hale cases.
Yes.
Judge, if you recall, this was a request that the judge made to us last year. I met with her, we met with her.
Right, no, she
and
indicated she had over 3,000
Right, she
cases
has a
filed.
number of filed cases.
4,000, it's growing.
She worked with us and delayed the request. It was in the fall of last year, but it has gotten to a point where, because of the number of filings for the MDL Hailstorm cases, she is in need of assistance. And so,
No,
if the-
she made a good, very strong case
Right.
for it.
so again, this, I know that there's a policy in place, but again, this would be an exception to that policy, and by court action, if the court does act to approve, then that would be the waiver of that policy,
Yes.
but this is a
Subject to funding.
Sergio, where's the money coming from?
Right now, it's undetermined. We would have to approve it subject to funding, and I would have to go back and look at the accounts, see what accounts I can reduce to move from monies from some currently budgeted items to this account.
And this would be a
If that's the
prorated
court's
amount.
desire.
Is this a temporary position, or is it gonna?
No, for the time being, Judge,
Full-time.
this is a full-time position because of the number of cases.
It'll take her couple of years.
Yes,
at least.
exactly.
Move for
At least
approval.
2 years. Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Subject to funding.
Subject to funding.
Next item, approval of the following personnel actions. Delete developer and system engineer, slot 3 at $75,594.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Approval of the revised salary schedule.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries.
Approval of the following personnel actions. Delete administrative assistant 4, slot 59 at $34,469. Slot 35 at $6,991. And
Move
to
for
create
approval
an
of D1 and
accountant
2.
3.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Salary schedule? Revised
Yeah,
salary?
item E now.
Approval of revised salary schedule. Authorization or approval to remove auto allowance for the following positions affected the next full pay period, 4/7/14.
Move for approval of E1 and 2.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, Commissioners, just as a point of information, I'll be working with Sergio at the office with the deletion of the auto allowance for these agents. We're going to transfer those funds into the mileage account with respect to them claiming mileage. And so it's just a transfer of funds into the mileage account, or into the mileage object number.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes, sir. All right, item 11, our Health Department.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. Eddie Olivares, Hidalgo County Health and Human Services. Item 11A, requesting approval to rescind action taken by Commissioners Court on March 11th, 2014 for item A14331. The agreement for shredding service provided by Lone Star Shredding is not needed. The service will be provided by Hidalgo County Clerk's Office, which we followed through and made that happen.
Good. Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B is pursuant to Chapter 121 Local Public Health Reorganization Act, Section 121.006, requesting approval of the sliding fee schedule effective April 2nd, 2014. The sliding fee schedule has been revised based on federal poverty levels. There's been an increase of 1.25% on federal poverty levels, and we'll be applying those new levels to all our operations in dealing with some of our community members. This is it's a required by federal law.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge, Commissioners, if I may, Mr. Olivares, with respect to item 11A, the rescind the action taken on that agreement for shredding services, this was done back on March 11th. Was that agreement signed and forwarded over
No,
to
sir.
the company?
No.
Okay, so it
was never signed by the county judge. It was just action taken, but it didn't have signature from the county judge.
Okay, Mr. Craig. Oh.
And Mr. Olivares, was it ever signed by the shredding company?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No, just for clarity. I understand. Item C, requesting approval to accept the Preparedness and Prevention Community Preparedness Section Bioterrorism Discretionary Grant Contract Amendment Number 2014-045408-001. The purpose of this amendment is to add additional funds to the purchase equipment to reallocate funding to reflect the actual cost for discretionary budget project BP2 LHD 76.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Requesting approval of the certification of revenue in the amount of $5,999.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Requesting approval of the budget appropriations amount of $6,666. This amount includes a $667 local matching fund.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Sir, item D is following through on a small grant we got for the next year and a half. This is for an infectious control grant that we got for an epidemiologist 2. Requesting approval to accept this infectious disease control grant, contract number 2014-045531-001, in the amount of $34,692 for the period of 4/1/2014 through 8/31/2014.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The approval on item 2 is approval certification revenue amount of $34,692.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 3 is approval of budget appropriations.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 4, approval of salary schedule. This will not impact general fund at all, sir.
Move for approval?
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item E is requesting approval to process the following invoice as a claim after auditings are completed by the county auditor. This is for Maverick Shredding in the amount of $58. Our contract ended December 31st, but due to the holidays, the PO was filed January 3rd, and that caused conflict, and came after the date, sir.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I do not have any items on item F or item G unless you all have any questions.
Well, I want to talk, maybe this is not the proper place, but on that issue that was brought up yesterday.
Yes, sir, I'm reviewing some concerns with our county legal in regards to our healthcare funding district and some procedural things, but I'm subject to reviewing from county
Why
legal.
don't you cover it with Steve, and then you can report back to us next week.
Sir, I'll follow through on recommendations from legal counsel and report as indicated.
All right.
Any other questions or concerns?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12, our IT department.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning,
Item
sir.
12A is authorization approved to continue wireless service for the data card listed below. It is the card used, I believe, by the Indigent Defense Department. It's
Move for
written
approval.
there.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you. Have a good morning.
Item 13, Urban County.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. Our first item on the agenda is requesting your approval of a proclamation declaring April 2014 as Fair Housing Month
and authorizing the county judge to sign any and all documents. If I may, Judge, I'd like to read the proclamation. Whereas the Fair Housing Act, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 as amended, prohibits discrimination in housing and declares it a national policy to provide within constitutional limits for fair housing in the United States. And whereas the principle of fair housing is not only national law and national policy established to ensure that every American retains the fundamental right to choose where he or she lives, raises a family, or owns a home. And whereas the Fair Housing Act protects the rights of all Americans to access housing regardless of race, color, sex, religion, disability, familial status, or national origin, and now therefore be it proclaimed that in the pursuit of this goal of providing equal housing opportunities for all men and women, the County of Hidalgo Commissioners Court does hereby join in the national celebration by proclaiming April 2014 as Fair Housing Month, encouraging all agencies, institutions, individuals, public and private partners to abide by the letter and spirit of the Fair Housing Law. In witness whereof, we hereunto enter our hands this second day of April 2014.
Move for approval. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
I thank you. Our next item is on behalf of our housing program. We are requesting the award of bid and approval of a contract for the demolition and reconstruction of one unit in the city of Mercedes in the amount of $44,450 to aid one installation.
Move for approval.
Second. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
On behalf of Precinct 1, we are requesting the approval for the purchase and installation of a sprinkler system at the Sunset Park baseball fields from Green Thumb Irrigation and Landscaping in the total amount of $10,000, $756 for the Parks and Recreation activity line item.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
On behalf of the City of Alton, we are requesting authority to purchase a fire station equipment through Hidalgo County's membership and participation with by board approved vendor Costco's Industries, contract number 363-10, in the amount of $90,724.16. This will include their shipping fees, and this will be from their fire department line item.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Our final request is on behalf of the City of La Villa, requesting an amendment to delete the following project description. They're going to be deleting the belt filter press and aerobic digester, and they will be adding the construction of new concrete headworks with mechanical bar screen. This is all work that's going to be done at their wastewater treatment plant.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item, 14, our elections office.
Good morning. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Ramon
Morning.
with the Elections Department. We're requesting approval of the full contract for the election services between Hidalgo County and Agua Special Utility District for the election to be held on May 10th, 2014. It's been emailed to Letty Chavez, and the legal review has completed, and it has been signed by Josie Solis in the DA's office.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Judge.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge,
Yes.
the only concern I have is that it's a May election, when we also have the other elections for cities
Well,
and
the obviously
schools.
you can do it, right? I mean, you're
My
going to be able
question
to
is-
meet all our deadlines?
My question is, do we have enough election machines to satisfy the city school elections plus this additional election?
I think that's everybody's question,
We're
Steve.
gonna use the
And that's still
Republican
yet to be
machines.
determined. Nonetheless, this election scheduled, so we're contracting with them at this time.
She reported to us at the Elections Commission that she had 307 or 309 machines, and she only needed about 155 or 160.
It's my understanding that the judge is also working with all parties to come up with a way to free up more machines so that there will be plenty available.
Judge, the only reason I raised this issue is I had a phone conversation with Ms. Ramon earlier this week, and there is another issue with the the number of election machines that may be needed based upon a request by one of the parties in their runoff election.
Where's she at?
We met earlier this week, Steve, late afternoon with the judge, and Mr. Ramon was present, as well as the vice chair of the Elections Commission, and that has all been contemplated. And again, the judge is moving swiftly to try to make determinations about how to quickly release more machines should they be necessary.
I'm just bringing up that concern of the knowledge I have.
Do you believe we have enough machines?
I don't have the authorization to comment on that, but I can have Amanda call you all if you
Can you
would like.
see if she can get here before the end of the meeting so we can
Sure, I will
act
go
on
ahead
it?
and do
If
that.
it's that important, because
And
we have
Judge-
deadlines coming up if it's on May 10th.
Would you like Ms. Ramon here, or is her assistant
Well,
fine?
someone with authority that knows what's going on.
Judge, would you want to rescind that action until they come back over?
Make a motion to rescind my motion.
Second.
All right, those in
Thank you.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 15, Precinct 2, Commissioner Palacios.
Judge, Commissioners, the Commissioner asked me to present that for him. He's requesting to submit a permit application to the United States Army Corps of Engineers. And this will be by Argo Tilis Engineering Corporation on behalf of the county, and this is to obtain a permit for Precinct 2 Tower Road project.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Second, would also ask authorization for the county judge to sign all pertinent documents with respect to that action item.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And Judge, Commissioners, this is an application only, so there is no fiscal impact.
Yep.
All right, item 16, Precinct 3.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Item 16A, requesting approval to process the following invoices as claims with authority for the county treasurer to issue payment after review, audit, and procedures are completed by the county auditor. Vendor, Mobile Relays Partners, invoice number AIR 0032821 for the amount of $1,170.83 for PO number 702576 and PO number 702898.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
For invoice number AIR 0032963 for the amount of $439.96 for PO number 704247.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And the final item, invoice number IR 0033104 for the amount of $415.96 for PO number 706254.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
17, Precinct 4.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. Jesse Osuna on behalf of Commissioner Joseph Palacios in Precinct 4. We're requesting a no action on 17A. So I'll move to 17B, approval of amended and reinstated interlocal cooperation agreement between County of Hidalgo, ECISD, City of McAllen, and Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1 for road and drainage improvements to irrigation canal crossing on mile 17.5 and terminating at Ware Road.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Judge, Commissioners, item 18 is for the HIDA Task Force. They're asking approval to accept an extension for award number G12SS0002A, which would be modification 1 out of Fund 1291. There's a new termination date, and that would be December 31st of this year.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Morning, Judge, Commissioner, Sergio Cruz, Department of Budget Management. Item 19A, we're requesting an appointment of a member for the County Energy Transportation Reinvestment Zone for their advisory committee. We're still lacking one oil and gas industry member. I don't know if the court has any members for nomination.
Did everybody appoint one already?
No, there's been 2 appointments. We need at least 3.
There's only 3.
We have 2 appointments right now.
Can you read them for the record? I appointed,
There's Mr. Jim Barnes was appointed as a public at-large member, and also Guadalupe Gonzalez was
know
appointed
anybody
as a
else?
public at-large member. We still need at least 1 oil and gas industry member, and the court can nominate up to 3.
Do we
but
have
need at
anybody
least
in
1.
line, Yolanda? Who appointed Mr. Gonzalez?
I believe,
You know
I believe you did, Judge.
no, you did.
Yeah, I
Did,
thought I
uh,
had, but that's why I'm
Yes,
asking.
I believe you're the one that made that nomination, Judge.
I thought my office submitted Laura Ramirez Guerra, or Laura Guerra Ramirez.
Laura Guerra Ramirez?
They hadn't submitted that name?
They might have submitted, but I believe, I didn't get notice of that, but that would,
If we could select her.
sure. I would just need approval of that. Laura
Move
Guerra
approval.
Ramirez as a,
Approval. Second?
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
we'll take no action on item 19B1. We'll bring that back next week. Item 19B2 is approval of appropriation of funds from the Road and Bridge unreserved fund balance for Precinct 1 for Program 005 in the amount of $95,000.
Move for approval. Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 19B3 would be approval of an appropriation of funds from CO Series 2006 in the amount of $24,380.26.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item 19B4 will be approval of appropriation of funds from Fund 1303 in the amount of $42,614. And this is for the M-Road project.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge Commissioners.
Sir, item 20A, purchasing.
Yes, Judge, Commissioners, I would like to know if you would entertain, please, to go back to consent agenda and reopen on a no-action item, that would be 10G, under purchasing. Unfortunately, I was parking at the time, and I couldn't be here for the discussion. This is on an issue concerning the District Attorney's Office on the removal of assets. I know there was concern by the Auditor's Office, one of them being that the affidavit signed by the DA's HR coordination instead of the DA himself. As I responded in my known memory and to my personal knowledge, and as confirmed by not only Mr. Roy Casares, but also the two attorneys in the division, Mr. Casares does sign on behalf of the DA with his approval. And secondly, there is a request that a police report wasn't submitted. There is no allegation of theft of these items, and therefore no police report was requested or necessary.
So you
I ask that
recommend-
I recommend that we approve.
The reason that I brought up the police report issue is one of the items that is being requested to be removed is a trailer. Question is, whatever happened to the trailer? Does it disappear or was stolen? I don't know. But that was the reason why.
Well, first of all, as I said earlier, there is no allegation of theft.
Well,
And I have Mr. Casares here if you wish to question him here about it, and you see, there he is.
So you're saying we lost the trailer? Is that what you're saying?
Obviously, that's the only conclusion
I
left.
probably lost 15 last year.
And then?
It is, I know it was quite old.
I think you have 10G. Get it?
And then, it's 10G of the consent agenda.
10G, yeah.
Yeah, it's so old that the whereabouts are unknown.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What?
But there is, I said it's so old that its whereabouts are unknown.
Oh, okay, so it's one of those
But
things
it's
disappeared.
not, but I believe in the DA's opinion, or their office's opinion, they don't allege theft. They just cannot locate it.
You recommend approval, Marty?
I recommend action and recommend that we approve,
So move.
please.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Going on to item 20 on regular agenda, 20A1, appointment and/or designation by Commissioners Court of a committee to evaluate and grade and score the proposals received for RFP number 061, which is Financial Advisory Services. As detailed in the procurement packet, we did receive two, and they have both served Hidalgo County before. I do know that, if I may tell you, that Precinct 2, prior to his leaving the courtroom, did ask that I appoint Raul Silguero. However, if that's okay with the court, he did give me that appointment. I also would recommend to the court that we include the budget department, since they work so closely with the services that are provided by these financial advisors. And I would recommend that Sergio and possibly some of his staff be included in
You
this.
want one for mayor, commissioner, and the county judge, and
And at least 3 members of his, would that be sufficient? Yes, 3.
that one.
I will be
Marty,
coordinating.
can you include the auditor's office? We also deal with the financial services, financial advisors.
We'll give you half.
Certainly, if you're willing to,
Sorry? Are you going to nominate me, Commissioner?
Give you half. So my appointment will be
he
Mona
gets
Parras.
half a person.
Yeah. Mona Parras from precinct 3.
Okay.
And Yolanda in my office.
Marcos Lopez out of my office.
Raul Lozano, precinct 1.
Okay.
Rosie,
I don't know
Gary,
if
you
a
saying?
citizen can serve, but our Frank Traver, our Al, is a CPA, and before he left today, he asked if he could serve on that committee.
Can we let somebody serve from the outside?
The instruction on the RFP says either designate a committee, and it doesn't say from where. It can be anyone you want.
We can approve, I mean, we can accept him, why not?
Yeah.
It's just gonna be one of those.
Okay.
Another set of eyes.
Yeah. Include him in there then.
Judge, Commissioners, as always, I'd like to just, as an advisor, as Marty does as well.
That's what my role will also be, to
Right.
coordinate
We
and
would not-
supervise the.
right, we would not, we would have
And
no
one
vote. We
from
would not
the
vote.
auditor's office?
No, a whole one.
A whole one.
You have?
One, okay, and DBM 3. Okay, thank you very much.
Then Marty, you're included, Marty, in that?
I'll get them from you. We will,
All right.
if you'll email them in to me.
Marty,
I'll-
do we
Steve's
need
got
action on it?
Steve's got something to say.
Can you read back all the names?
Yes, sir. Precinct 2 is Raul Silguero. Precinct 3, Mona Parras. Judge is Yolanda Chapa. Precinct 4 is Marcos Lopez. Precinct 1 is Raul Lozano. Mr. Frank Travers. Department of Budget and Management will be 3 that will be emailed to me.
Judge, I can read those into the record.
Okay.
If you care. For the Department of Budget Management, it'll be myself, it'll be Dina Trevino, which is the Assistant Budget Officer, and Mr. Ray Salazar, which is our Strategic Planning Director.
And Mr. Fracio, from your office?
I would like to nominate Linda Fong.
There we go. That is the committee. Mr. Valdeguerra will be just as an advisory capacity, and myself is the coordination through purchasing.
Second?
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I'm also asking court to, under item all of 2, A through D, that no action be taken. This is in concurrence between the architect and the general contractor. We will have it on next Tuesday. We're just trying to finalize paperwork.
It's on number 2A.
Entire 2, no action?
All of 2, no action.
Thank you, Marty.
Going on to item B, Precinct 4, acceptance and approval of a request for...
Wait a minute, what happened to item 2?
No action.
Between the concurrence of the architect and the general
Oh,
contractor.
2, A, B, C, and D, and there's no
Yes,
action?
sir, all of item 2. They will be on next Tuesday.
Okay,
We're trying to finish up all of the pertinent information.
all right.
All right, item B for Precinct 4, A, acceptance and approval of a request for payment application 1 in the amount of $137,981.80 as submitted by NM Contracting LLC, awarded contractor for the M Road project, and is certified for payment by project architect Dannenbaum.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item B is acceptance and approval of change order number 1 in the amount of $24,663, resulting in changes as reflected on supporting documentation, including but not limited to removing alternate 2, which were kitchen appliances, and adding prep and paint of metal roof, gutters, and downspouts, electrical and data boxes for classroom, millwork with laminated tops, and an addition of 33 calendar days for the completion of the project. And this is with NM Contracting for the M Road project.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Health and Human Services Department pursuant to Texas Local Government Code annotated Chapter 271, Sections 101 and 102, both entities being political subdivisions of the state of Texas, requesting acceptance and approval of a cooperative purchasing program agreement between Harris County Hospital District, DBA Harris Health System, and Hidalgo County, thus allowing Hidalgo County Department of Health and Human Services to utilize software system and other pertinent related items in connection with the 1115 medical waiver project with Performance Logic.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
And that is all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You want to take up that matter again on elections?
Yes, Judge, Commissioners, I believe it's item 14A, Elections Administration. We did speak with Ms. Ramon, and Steve, she assures me that she does have sufficient number of machines for the city elections to be held on May 10th as per this particular contract, so we would ask for approval.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Need a motion to proceed to executive session pursuant to 55107-1 and 072. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
Well, hold on. Is this item having to do with the item that was on the agenda?
Yes.
And the comment that you made, Steve, because you and I are talking but about Election Day, and what was brought up was May. We're fine with May, as you said, Judge, where I had already told you that we're good to go with the May elections. Where we are having an issue is with Election Day for the runoff. And so we've been working on the numbers, and we're more exact now in our need, where we're needing 222 machines for Election Day.
Have you called around to see if there's any out there?
No one will send us machines for fear of impounding after these elections. They won't. But ES&S is looking, and what I needed was the number from Ms. Salazar. Tonight, they're having a meeting to see how many poll locations the executive committee will want. She's leaning towards the 75, but she's leaning towards 2 machines, one ADA and one regular. That would require 150 machines, plus the 12 machines from the Republican Party, because they're still leaning towards 6 locations. So along with the reserve, then we're looking at about 222 machines that we're needing.
And what are you doing to try to get them?
We've got 3 issues that we're going to address. Number 1 is, of course, through ES&S, and Steve and you and I need to talk more about the contractual fees and all that. Number 2 would be to ask Judge if some of these machines can be released. We met last Friday, and we gave her stats, and we gave the district attorney's office stats also on the number of votes that each machine has, or how many votes were in each machine. And quite a few of them were under 50 votes. So she wanted a scale of how many votes each machine contained. And there is a possibility, and my plan is to go back, and that's what I was working on, an email with requiring an update as to the possibility of releasing some of these machines.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Valde, let's go.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. Under item 22A, open session, real estate acquisition appropriation for same, no action. 22B, pending and or potential litigation, no action. 22C, civil action number 13-261, Jose G. Perez and Maria Guadalupe Perez versus Guadalupe Lupe Trevino, no action. Item D, civil action number 714-CV0067, Santos Rodriguez Jr. et al. versus Lake County Sheriff's Office et al. Will proceed as directed. Item E, claim of Concepcion Cuer and Norma Gomez, no action at this time. I'll have something on for next week. Item F, claim of Victoria County Juvenile Services. Judge Commissioners, I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $276.62.
Need a motion? Second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item G, claim of AT&T. Again, Judge Commissioners, I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $956.04.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item H, Judge Commissioners, I want to put on the record that the claim of Hidalgo County versus Raul Rodriguez Jr. and Yesenia Cias shall be facilitated by Ms. Josephine Ramirez at the District Attorney's Office.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
There is no need for item 23 or 24 at this time, Judge.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Move for approval.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.